What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am joined tonight by comic creator and fellow YouTuber, Mr. Cova. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing, James?
I'm doing good, man. I'm here chatting with you. How you been?
Been good, and keep myself busy doing a lot of comic book stuff.
Yeah, you just
Yeah,
launched your Kickstarter here recently.
yeah, that was a new feat for me. That was like a goal for this year to try to
Nice.
do a Kickstarter for one of my comics. So I decided this comic, AWOL, was the one I was gonna do it for.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming you wrote that and you're illustrating it and everything.
Yeah, so everything I do is just I write and draw everything. I do pretty much everything front and back on the comic, design work, everything.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, that's a lot of work. I don't know, like, fellow artists will understand how much work that is, but that's quite the undertaking.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is a lot of work, especially like doing everything all your on your own and stuff like that. But I found a good schedule to like find certain pockets during the day to like knock those things out, and then I just make sure I maintain that schedule,
Perfect.
daily. Yeah,
Yeah, so planning is a big part of it, right?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's one of the things. I had Clara Meath on here. She's amazing. She's such a great creator, and that's what she was telling me. Like everything she does with her work is blocked out, scheduled ahead, and like she's checking stuff off the list and stuff. And she's managed several Kickstarters and stuff too. So she was like, "Yeah, it's really important if you're doing the Kickstarters and things and keeping everything organized." So it sounds like you're on the right track.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've been able to figure out like I said my schedule. And I was telling you earlier like that I have family and stuff like that. So you know, after I'm done getting them situated and the night's over for the kids and done hanging on my wife, whatever, I go straight to creative mode. Like I have to find those pockets, and I always have like little micro goals every day. So like if I can get like one page done or one page of scripting or thumbnailing and stuff like that, that's like a big thing for me. And now moving into kickstarting, all that like micromanaging and like
Yeah.
scheduling is definitely filtered in Kickstarter stuff like that. Like before I even launched this campaign, I like studied a bunch of other Kickstarters and campaigns. I've backed a whole bunch and kind of like gauged and see what they were doing and stuff like that. And so right now I'm in the mix of like I'm right as of recording 2 days in, so it's kind of like still trying to figure everything out. But
Yeah.
it's interesting so far. Yeah,
Trial by fire, right?
yeah, for sure.
This is your first one, first time you've done a Kickstarter then?
Yeah, so this is my first time doing a crowdfunding campaign for anything. I've done all the comics that I've worked on. I've pretty much just published myself, just put the money up front for myself, and then I would just print them out, and then I have a website, and I would just sell them off my website, pretty much.
Perfect. So let's talk about this creative spark. I mean, you're one of these guys, you're in there doing everything and now you're kind of, living your dream of doing this Kickstarter and putting your own creator owned work out. Where did this all start for you? Is this start at a young age where you had that creativity and that drive to make art and to get into comics and all this type of stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So when I was little, probably around uh like fourth, fifth grade, I started getting into like comics and like manga and stuff like that, anime. Like around that time, like I remember like Toonami was on TV, W4 Kids, like all those shows used to come on, and it kind of drove me to like the comics. Is once I realized, oh, these shows are based off of a comic, and then now I'm
Yeah.
reading these comics and these manga and stuff. Like now I want to do it myself. So I was drawing. I drew for like a year or so in middle school, like fifth grade and sixth grade, and then I started playing sports, and then I kind of like fell off because I fell in love. Like I'm one of those people who like when I like something, I dive fully deep into it. So once I started playing basketball, it was over with. It was
Yeah.
ball is life, until I graduated, and I never like stopped liking comics or like superhero stuffs. Like during that times when like the MCU was popping off and anime started getting more popular, so I was still engulfed in that world. It's just I wasn't necessarily creating or drawing yet. And then around the pandemic, I got one of my main hobbies outside of making comics is lifting weights. And
Nice.
pandemics
You and me
started.
both,
I
brother. Look at that.
Yeah,
40. It'll be 48 this year. I still got it.
Nice. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Yeah. So once the gyms got shut down, I was like, well, I got to find something else to keep my time occupied.
That was rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was tough, man. I was doing like push-ups and stuff at the house, and I was like, this isn't enough. Like I need to, whatever.
Yeah.
But I started, was just on Instagram a lot and stuff. And I was like, maybe I could do like a brand or something, like a t-shirt brand and stuff like that. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. That's kind of boring. And then one day I saw somebody's Instagram story of an Instagram comic somebody posted an Instagram comic, and I saw it and I went to that page and I was like, oh snap, like people are doing this stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, let me, I made a new Instagram page, the one that you see on, I have now my art page, and then I started from there and just getting back into it. I figured out like, oh, people are drawing their iPads now, so I got iPad and I got Procreate, and then it kind of just evolved from there. And then like I was posting like little mini comics on Instagram, and then from there I was like, okay, now I want to do a web comic, and then now I've transitioned to physical comics, and then I went from the iPad to now I'm back on paper, Bristol board and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's been like a slow, gradual evolution these last like 4 years, starting in 2021. So these last like 4 years, I've been like slowly getting back and finding my my grounding.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's a couple commonalities with what you said and many other creators I've had on here. One, definitely a good thing that came out of the pandemic was them reconnecting with their creativity and finding the means of making things and exploring that again. And, having that drive and that passion to delve into it and see it through. That's a really unique thing. I think when we talk about the pandemic, we think about all the negative stuff, but there was some silver lining in there. Like someone like you, rekindled that love of creating comics and, started on this journey.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like it definitely was, for different people at different times, and I was lucky enough to not be too affected by it, but it was also able to find, like you said, the passion and getting back into drawing and making comics, and then, even being more engulfed by it. And I started buying a bunch more, you see my library of books, and I have
nice
library. In my closet, I have I have like 6 long boxes. So I just started collecting again and stuff. I was lucky enough that I still had most of my comics from when I was in middle school. So that was cool. And then, yeah, I just stayed with it, honestly. And it's been a real fun journey, like progressively getting better with drawing and stuff like that, and just learning the publication side as well, and then also like marketing and kind of like figuring out how I can get myself out there, and that's kind of where the YouTube channel came in from doing that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, if that was, kind of around the same timing as all of this coming together for you with reconnecting with the comics. It was the YouTube kind of just naturally occurred out of that.
So like I was saying, like about marketing. So when I was getting into like making comics and stuff like that, I started like watching comic creators and content creators online, and I was seeing kind of what they were doing and how like they were able to get sales. You know what I'm saying? So like I was watching like, cartoonist Kayfabe, Daniel Warren Johnson's page. There's a guy named Draw and Talk. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of people who are creators, but they're also like using YouTube as a platform to like market their stuff. So I was like, okay, I need to find a platform to use to like market my stuff, so I don't have to worry about trying to get, picked up by a publisher or anything like that. So first I was trying to do the Instagram thing, but I was like, this isn't like working the way I want. The algorithm isn't, I'm not algorithm friendly artwork. Like I'm not doing fan art. I'm not doing like, drawings of like Naruto or Superman or, DBZ or anything like that. So I was like, let me try YouTube. So when I first started my YouTube channel, I was doing like just looking at my comics and reading through them and stuff. And then I was like, this isn't like content that is that like that I like. So I would watch a lot of video essays and like deep dives on like random topics and stuff. And I seen there was kind of a lack of those type of topics for like comic book stuff, like there's a lot of, review channels and stuff. And like, people who talk about like, oh, let me teach you about Superman. Let me teach you about this character. So I was like, let me do a channel where I call it comic book lore. So like I'll find like random obscure things that happen in comic book history and kind of like dive deep into them.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing with the channel so far. And it's been working so far. It's probably the most successful I've been on any social media platform since I've been using social media.
Yeah, so. It's really cool, man. I was over there watching a few of your videos. I watched the Invincible one, and I just started watching your the new King of Comics Daniel Warren Johnson one today. So
Hmm.
it's yeah, I think you have a unique angle on it, and you do a really good job of, kind of doing a deep dive on these topics and everything. And your passion for it comes across. So I think that really resonates with people too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's also, it's like something that I like, and a lot of the information that I do videos on, I already kind of know about. Like Invincible, like I'm a huge Invincible fan. Like even before the show came out, I remember when the comics were coming out,
You
and
and
when I
me
was in middle
both.
school, I was like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. Like I remember one of the first issues I read was the Conquest arc that they just did on the anime series,
Yes.
and I was like, they can do this in comics. Like his freaking forearm is broken. You know what I'm saying? All this gore and
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, this is crazy. And so I just remember being like super obsessed with it, and that was crazy too. The show came out around the same time once I started getting back into comics, so it was kind of like this cool like synthesis of like timing, perfect timing and stuff,
Yeah.
and
If you
Invincible and all, like there's so many things that like kind of go into the channel because these are already things I already love, or I find interesting, and I just want to share it and express like positivity in the comic book space with
yeah.
my information I think will be interesting and stuff.
So we're obviously going to get along really well because you love Invincible. Yeah, I was a Ryan Otley fan way before he ever broke into, as a professional. I used to chat with him over on a website back in the day called Digital Webbing. And Digital Webbing was a forum where all the up and coming artists were on there sharing work and sharing advice and everything else and talking about their struggles trying to break in. So it was like Ryan Otley, Ryan Stegman, like a bunch of other creators were all on there at that time. So I started picking up his stuff like way back in the day. And as a result, I'm very fortunate that I got a ton of Invincible original art when it was affordable.
Man,
If
you
you
got a
could
bank
see
account
what
you're
was
up.
on the other side of my monitor that I'm looking at on the wall, it's a double page spread of them destroying the Vultramite planet. And you remember
Oh,
that part where the three of them fly through the planet? It's the
dang.
it's the pencils of that, yeah. So
That's
I was
sick.
every time I would see Ryan at a con, I would be like going through all his pages. That was way before he ever had an art rep or anything like that. He would just bring stacks of art with him and everything, and yeah, it was very very surreal. I even got some pages for free because back in the day, like I have ones that have free written on them. It's like if you
What
bought
the
a
hell?
page, yeah, if you bought a page, you could pick one of the free ones too, and
Dang, that's crazy. That's like that's really lucky, man. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
he's come.
I feel the same way because I had like half of the Invincible run already from when I was collecting in middle school, and then I
Yeah,
was lucky enough to hop on like to buying them up. Cause I have a full complete run now, and like
dude, you're
that's
lucky. See,
yeah. Then that was buying.
I didn't jump on it until Ryan started drawing it.
Hmm.
So I don't have like issue one. I start at
Oh,
like issue eight.
yeah. I don't have. So I don't have issue one either. Not a first copy at least. Then I
Yeah,
don't
I
have. But
have
I
the
have like
second.
the
I have the second print, but the first one, I'm like, man, why didn't I grab that?
Yeah, yeah. So that's like my lucky invincible thing, and I was able to like finish the complete like thing like the last like I got like 2021 before like they marked up to like $50 each issue. I mean,
Yeah,
I spent quite a grip on a few copies, but it probably not as much as I would now if I would try to go pick them up. So
for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, and another person that we're mutual fans of is Mr. Daniel Warren Johnson.
yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, he like man, when I found his work, it kind of like drew me into a whole different like realm of artists that are especially like that are kind of coming up now,
Yeah,
and like and especially because it's cool because I'm also a big fan of manga and anime, so he is too, and you can see it in his
he
work. Like
pulls so much from that. Yeah.
yeah, him and James Heron are like
Yep.
two of like the most exciting eccentric artists, and James Heron doesn't put out as much pages as I would like. I mean, he did Ultra Mega, which is that's enough, that's perfect. But
Yeah.
Daniel, he's consistently dropping stuff, so I think it's super dope to see that.
Well, like you mentioned before, his channel, because he'll get on
Hmm.
there for his Friday draw, streams, and it's just like basically like you and I getting to hang out in the studio with him, watching him draw, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, I
crazy to
used to like
watch.
his when he would do his sketchbook tour videos. He did like a few of those. Those are really interesting to see like the stuff he was doing and stuff on his sketchbook tour. Those were really cool. I've actually got to meet him twice at Heroes. He's a super dope dude, man, and it's
I've
crazy.
always heard great things about him. I tried to get him on here. He's just too busy. Yeah, I will say this. Like, he went out of his way. He actually emailed me back, though, and said, hey, I'm sorry. You know, I'm super busy. I usually only can do like one podcast interview a year or whatever. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll just hit you back up, you know, in the future. Maybe it'll sync up one day.
Yeah, I mean he's done a lot. I've seen him do a lot, so I'm sure you'll get your opportunity to do one for sure. He's definitely
Yeah.
gotten way more busier and busier. It's, like since the Transformers thing is like, he's pretty much like out of here now at this point.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
he is just like the sky is the limit for him. Like even last year, where I went to CuriousCon 2024, I stood in his line. I was sitting there, it was probably like 30, 40 minutes. It was pretty long. And when I was standing in line, all the people were like, man, last year he was like, his line was, he didn't even have a line, and the year before that he
Yeah.
didn't even have a line. It's crazy how popular it is. And then this year, oh, forget about it. I was doing like 2 hours. But the coolest thing is, both years, no matter how long the line was, he was still like, I would show him my work, he'd give me feedback, and he was super cool about it.
Yeah.
And he like, they charge Felix Comics, they do like 3 free signatures, and then like after that you have to charge whatever. And I gave him like, I don't remember how many books I gave him, like probably 3 or 4, and they didn't even charge me. They were just like, no, Daniel was like, no, you're good.
That's awesome,
And
man.
like he does that a lot. Like, and even like and he did the Kickstarter book, the big freaking for Extremity.
Yeah.
And I
It's
saw
on
people.
my it's on my shelf where you
You have it
can't
over
see
there.
it.
It's
Yeah,
freaking.
yeah.
That's
Weighing my
ginormous.
shelf down.
Yeah, and so I saw people in line with it, and I was like, man, they're bold for carrying it. But whenever he brought it, they gave it to him. He was doing like sketches, quick sketches, and stuff like that. And I was like, man, that guy, like, he doesn't care. I mean, I think he just feels like happy that that's happening, right?
I think so. Yeah, he seems very genuine and very much passionate about what he does. You can tell he only takes on stuff that he really wants to do. And he's done a ton of creator-owned stuff, which I love, because I feel like we don't have like these guys nowadays. Like, if you think of all the kind of the top artists right now, like, nobody's doing their own stuff. It's like Neto Diaz, Dan Mora, Jorge Jimenez. It's like, man, I would love to see their creations, like what's in
Yeah.
their brain. Like, I know they have ideas and
Mhm.
stuff, but back in the Image days, we had these guys where we got to see our favorite artists get out there and put their own creator-owned stuff forth. And were the stories the most well written? No,
No,
but
yeah.
you could see the passion and the fun,
Yeah, and
came through in the books.
I always wondered like why more like top tier artists don't just like do their own thing. Obviously, it's probably like a financial thing or whatever, and I understand. But like when I see like Daniel and I see the journey he takes, that's something that also inspires me as a creator. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to
Yeah.
do it all myself. I want to have the creative control. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind. I wouldn't mind working with the writer or working with other artists or something like writing more stuff and working with other artists. But like when I see like how he does, how he was just like, oh, I'll do like 2 or 3 things, but most everything he's done literally since Extremity has been written by him and drawn by him,
Yeah.
which I find like you said, like it's fantastic. That's amazing because not a lot of top tier artists do that. Not a lot of artists, that are solidified write their own stuff, and it's really weird. I just don't understand, especially now when like we have Kickstarters, we have social media platforms where you can like produce and then like give it
Yeah.
directly to the people who like your work. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen tons of like popular comic book artists go on Kickstarter and they do really well. Like Mark Millar and
Always,
John Romita,
yeah.
they just did a Kickstarter for their book.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy did one last year, the year before with the Zorro book, and like they make hella money. So
Yeah.
and that's
I
pretty much
think,
just like a proof of concept for the book.
Yeah, I think Sean has another one in the works too that he hasn't announced. He's been posting some little teasers for it and everything. So, yeah, it's definitely, the demand is out there. The fans are going to support it. I think a lot of it has to do with, well, one, it's a ton of work, so you got to be a certain, certain people like having that direction and kind of being regimented and having somebody else kind of directing what they need to do. But you get the truly passionate creators, it seems like they want to do it all. And I'm sure there's another group where it probably is kind of scary to do that, and also it's a big risk. So if you are a top artist for Marvel or DC or one of their top up and coming people, like, you have a little more of that stability maybe, to where it's like, well, if I go and do this, what am I going to do? But it's like Todd said, McFarlane said back when they jumped to Image, he's like, if this doesn't work, Marvel or DC will hire us back tomorrow. Like
Yeah.
they're not going to say no. You know,
Yeah,
they
for
want
sure.
they want to have the top guys working for them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'd
think that
like to see
like
more.
yeah, when like I mean I feel like a lot of my peers and people I hang around and stuff like that. I feel like manga, like especially the popular manga, I think inspired a lot of people like my age to like want to write and draw and do their own thing, you know, because that's kind of like the standard for like manga in Japan. Even though like if you really think about it, most manga artists aren't doing it by themselves. They have like assistants, editors who help
Yeah,
them, but you know, it seems like you know what I'm saying, and so I think that's like a big thing, especially like for me. Like I want to see my world build. I want to be able to do that type of stuff, and I want to be able to even like build a platform on YouTube and build like a great, a solid following to where I can, when I do put a comic out, people gravitate or like my core audience wants to buy it up. I want to get to a point where I don't even need a Kickstarter to, you know, fund my book. I can just, oh, here's the pre-sale launch on my website. Go hit the pre-sale, and then hopefully, you know, I've seen you know a lot of big popular creators do stuff like that, and that's like a
yeah.
something I've strived for, and so you know.
Yeah, if you could do that and then get to the point where, you know, it's prevalent enough to where you do your crowdfunded deal and then you also get Image to publish it afterwards. Like you've
Mm-hmm.
seen, like right now, a good example of that is that Moonshine Bigfoot. That
Oh
was
yeah.
like a Kickstarted thing, and now Image picked it up and is publishing it, and they're doing great. So, yeah, to get to that point it would be something to aspire to for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like the new thing to do, especially like as an indie creator. Like obviously, if you get hired by Marvel, you can get hired by DC. Cool, go do it and kind of get your name up that way.
Well, that's
If
like a resume piece, right?
hmm
It's
yeah,
like
for
getting your
sure.
name out there to a broader audience, probably would
hmm
probably be the biggest benefit of that. Is like, oh, he worked for Marvel, he worked for DC.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's definitely like an eye catcher. And then when you do your Kickstarter, you can put like, oh, this guy artist, Marvel artist, DC artist, and da da da. So, but I mean, I think like the new wave is just definitely like find a platform, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, or whatever, and then just build on there, and then just like give your people like a product or whatever, which is your comic. You know, that's pretty much my motto. Essentially, is like what I'm trying to do. You know, it's like
absolutely.
yeah.
Um, I want to talk about the Kickstarter, but before we do that,
hmm
when it came to your artwork, were you mainly just practicing from what you were seeing in manga and in comics? Were you kind of taking inspiration, copying drawings, you know, trying to figure out how they were doing what they were doing? Or did you seek out any formal training with your artwork as well?
So as far as my art goes, so like I said, I started drawing in middle school, so I kind of learned like foundational stuff then, and then obviously after like you know 5 6 years of not drawing, I kind of lost it. But when I got back into drawing, I already kind of knew the bones of what I wanted to do, or like how to draw. You know what I'm saying? And so I kind of
Hmm.
went back to those old videos I used to watch. I started picking up books, videos and stuff like just pretty much what I was doing, and pretty much essentially is like I'm just essentially learning as I go. So like I wouldn't like I would maybe look at manga, but like or other comics for like certain things that I'm like, okay, I want to try to draw this thing. I want to see how they draw this punch, or I'm gonna try to mimic that, or I'm gonna see
Yeah.
how they do this kick, or this angle, this perspective, and this stuff. And as of late, what I've been doing is like I've a bunch of sketchbooks. So right here, these are all like my sketchbooks I've been doing like the last couple years, and I've been doing anatomy studies. I there's like a couple websites that give you like models, and they like I choose quick sketches of
Oh
models.
yeah, like the timed time drawings and
So I
everything.
would
Yeah,
do
those are
that,
great.
and so that's like part of my regimen. So like in between projects, in between comics that I do, I will like practice like super hard for like a month or two, and then start working up another project and stuff like that. And I'm also like learning on the page, and I'm trying to get those like what they call it like the 1,000 ugly pages or whatever, like the
Oh
100
yeah.
10,000 hours in, and that's what I've pretty much been doing. And I see the progression each time, and then also just learning what tools work for me. Like I said, I stopped using the iPad not because of anything wrong with it, but just because I want to test myself, do something better. So I've learned like some of the comics I try to use a brush, some I use just microns, and then now I've gone to like Tombos and stuff like that, which I found, I'm super comfortable with. I still use my iPad where I got do my pencils and then I'll print it out and then blue
Yep.
line and ink over it.
That's my
So
preferred my preferred method is to work everything out in the iPad when you don't feel like you're going to mess anything up, and you can quickly adjust things and
Mm-hmm.
change proportions and move stuff around and then print it out onto the board and then finish it traditionally.
Yeah, it's super super duper helpful doing that. And then yeah, and so like I just study a lot of books. I read a lot of manga, even just for like not even for like anatomy and stuff like that, but just see how like they're doing pacing, how they're doing set of page layouts and stuff like that. Like I have specific artists like I've been studying like James Herron's one of my go tos. Daniel Warren Johnson. Man, I look at Ron Wimberly, and like obviously a bunch of like I read like Don Chainsaw Man, and those are more not even just for the art, but like I don't know if you read those manga, but those mangas are all like
I haven't.
they're so
No, but
like they're
I've heard good things.
yeah, they're like crazy and super creative, and then like the way they tell their stories and how like they're able to just put the most random stuff to happen and it makes sense, and it's like there's like random things that are heartfelt and you're like how is this heartfelt, but it's like so I kind of take
Right.
its inspiration from a lot of those things, and I'm trying to like you know put that into my stories and into my comics and stuff like that. And I don't just stay with like a certain genre. Like I'm not doing just superhero books. Like I've done slice of life books of comic. Like I've done one about like my time playing AU basketball. I did a comic about a horror comic. I've done like a bootleg like Spider-Man comic, which was like a fan comic that I did, which was fun. And then onto this one, which is more of like a serious type action-packed comic that I'm you know doing. So
Nice. Well, let's
mhm.
talk more about the Kickstarter, man. Let everybody know what this book is about, and give us the basic what do they call it, an elevator pitch about what the project is.
Okay, so AWOL number one is essentially is like Power Rangers, Ultraman meets like Berserk. So there's the main character. So the main character is he's the Wanderer, and he goes into this town which is filled with like gangs, and it's overtaken by gangs, and there's also monsters. And so he goes into the town having to like deal with all these issues unbeknownst to him. So that's it's pretty much it's like super action packed, it's super there's some heartfelt moments, and also it leads to a bigger story. So this is issue number one. It's issue 104. So the first issue is essentially it's a standalone one shot type of style, but I also sprinkle in details that will be more prevalent later on in
Right.
other issues. But you can read the first comic front and back and have a completely done story. Like I said, there's hella action. There's a lot of like emotional pieces to it, but I keep it like short and sweet and swift. It's an easy read. I'm the type of writer I don't like doing a bunch of data dumping. I don't like doing like word bubbles, explaining stuff. I'd like to passively build the world through character dialogue and stuff like that. So you will learn things from conversations characters have, and what I'm saying, like things like that. I'm not like an overwriter. I like to just keep it fun and straightforward, and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. It's a manga style, so it's in gray tone, which is like my preferred style. I do have
Oh, cool.
some stuff colored for it, so and I have a bunch of variant covers for the comic as well. A couple of my art friends, one from my art friend Jeremy Heiler, Brian Christopher Moss, and Ian Cinco. All three of them were gracious enough to give me some cool variant covers. I have a mini print, which is a colored version of one of the pages of like the monster and the hero, the Wanderer in his hero form. So he's able, like, that's the cover where the Ultraman aspect comes in. So on
Okay.
the cover, you'll see this guy's blue and yellow, the dynamic pose, and that's the Wanderer. He has the ability to transform into what's called his hero form, and he goes and fights, the monsters and stuff like that. Um, yeah, and like I said, this is the singular issue, but it will build into a bigger issue. One of the stretch goals actually on the campaign is if I get to $2,000, I have issue 2 already done, so you'll get all the backers will get a
Oh, wow.
early copy of issue 2, and then the second goal or the third goal, the first goal is a sticker pack of all of the like characters and stuff like that, and my imprint logo, and then the third stretch goal, which is $2,500, you'll get a copy of my art book, which is a bunch of like pinups that I did within the last like year or so. So essentially, if you back the campaign and we make it to those stretch goals, you'll essentially get 3 books for the price of the single book that you back.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah.
awesome.
hmm
And you already have issue 1 done?
Yeah, so I have issue 1 completely done, written,
Wow.
drawn, screen toned. Obviously, before I send it to print, I'm probably go back over it again to make sure everything's
Yeah.
good. tighten some stuff up if I need to. Issue 2 is essentially like I would say like 90% done. I just got to go back and add some other stuff and things like that. Like I'm a fast worker when it comes to making comics. Like I being able to maintain that schedule has really helped me stay productive. So like I always do like 1 page a day type stuff,
Nice.
or things like that. That's like my goal. I try to overwork myself, because if I try to do too much in one night, I can see like my product becoming worse, like my artwork becoming not as great. So but yeah, I've I've gotten a lot of it done so far.
So people that back can be pretty assured that they'll receive it fairly quickly. Like once it's printed up and everything, once you've gone through that process, like you said, if you want to go in there and maybe tighten some things up or whatever, but since it's done, like it's probably going to be a pretty quick turnaround.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's literally the campaign is just for printing costs, shipping costs, and essentially that's pretty much it. And then for all the campaign rewards and stuff like that, if we get to those points. This isn't my first comic that I've done. Like I said earlier, I printed and done a bunch of self-published books myself. So, and I've also been know how to mail books out and things like that. Like I've sold a bunch of books through my website. So this isn't like my first rodeo. Essentially, this is like my first time doing the Kickstarter format to get the books out, and I've only doing that just so I'm not like having to get the upfront the money and have to wait to get the my profits back or whatever. So that's pretty much it. So it is going to be a quick turnaround. Like I've backed a lot of campaigns where I've had to wait like months, or I've seen campaigns that I wanted to back and they're like, oh, it'll be done in 2026. And I'm like,
that's why I asked, because sometimes it's like sitting here waiting 2 years, like I've had situations where literally, and I'll say, hey, at least it did get fulfilled, so I'm not going to complain too much. But there's been times where something shows up and I'm like, I totally forgot about this. I backed this thing like 3 years ago and it just came.
Yeah, I've seen and heard a lot of the horror stories. I've only had one campaign not get fulfilled. And I mean, it wasn't like I didn't it was like a $20 reward tier. So it wasn't like I missed out like couple $100, but it still sucks because like now I can't support that creator anymore because
exactly.
But everything else has been pretty good, and obviously like I'm like efficient with my timing and doing stuff. Like, I don't want to be the guy who's like sitting on books and having my room full with a bunch of stuff and shipping. I want to get it all done and get it over with. So it will definitely be a quick turnaround, probably like a month and a half, depending on like all the back end stuff with Kickstarter and how that goes with the money and stuff. But yeah,
you already have a printer that you trust, that you like, that you've used before, I'm assuming.
Yeah. I've gone through Mix'em with all my comics. I've done 4 comics myself, so I pretty much trust them. They're pretty efficient. They're pretty like reliable for the most part, and they're time efficient with their shipping and stuff like that. So I don't have to like do any hiccups, or hopefully not. Hopefully it isn't the time like, oh well,
knock on wood, right?
Yeah. But I think that I've done it, like I said, this isn't the first time I've done it, and this isn't like the only thing that's new to me is just doing the Kickstarter campaign. That's it. Everything else, like production and publishing wise, I've all done before.
What's that been like for you? Is there some underlying nerves there with the Kickstarter? Just kind of, especially early on in it, seeing like, okay, like at what point does this really take off? Or are you noticing the support starting to trickle in on it already? Yeah, I mean, you're only 2 days in, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I have a little bit of like, oh man, like I don't know what to expect. It's pretty much like the biggest thing, like a little bit of like nervousness about that. Like I don't know like how fast people get funded or how slow it is. I've heard like the first week you'll get the most, and like the last week, So I just don't know when like what's gonna happen. Obviously if I doesn't get funded, I'm still gonna I'm gonna find a way to get the books printed regardless, because that's what I want to do. But yeah, I just like the biggest thing is I just don't know what to expect. I don't know what like, certain things are gonna happen. How long it takes for certain people to come in and back the book, or because what I was trying to do, I got a bunch of pre-launch signups, and not all of them have came through and back, which I don't know if that's I like that, like I don't even know if that's a common thing. I don't know. Everybody has a different timeline.
They'll all wait till the last week.
Yeah, for sure. That's probably definitely gonna
I've
happen.
heard of
And then,
that happening. Yeah, like that big
mm,
surge, like within the last week. I've noticed that. Like I've hosted events and stuff at my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. Like we've hosted a ton of seminars over the years and stuff, and it's always like the people wait till the last minute, man. It always
yeah.
drives me nuts. I'm like, all right, but
And I feel
that
like I've kind
big
of gotten,
surge.
yeah, I feel like I've kind of gotten like used to that kind of because of doing YouTube. Like when you drop a video, you're kind of like, okay, let me see how many views it's
Yeah,
gonna do, and then I'll kind of like hyper fixate on like, okay, it's not working, so let me change the thumbnail or change the title or stuff like that. That I'm like super like, my YouTuber brain starts to get all
yeah,
like, and then eventually I'm like, all right, I got to give up. Like if this video didn't do well, okay, it's on to the next one and stuff like
exactly.
that. But so I just don't know like how much to like push for the campaign. Like obviously I'm doing like a lot of marketing, so I've done like a bunch of Instagram reels. I've made a bunch of posts. I already got them like scheduled out for the next couple of days, and I'm out doing different ones and stuff like that. I'm also trying to line up a bunch of like these interviews and live streams to go on.
Yes.
Hopefully that those will help get some backers on the campaign and you know yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to just do what I've seen other people do, and hopefully that works for me.
For sure. How long is the campaign running?
It's a 30-day campaign, so
Okay.
from July 10th to August 10th or like 9th. It
Yeah.
ends.
Nice. Well, I'll definitely be pushing people that way for sure.
So, yeah.
And I'll get this episode out real quick so that way we get the word out and get people headed over there and supporting, backing. Like, it's cool because you've been able to give some assurances here. Like, hey, man, the issue one's done. Like,
Mhm.
going to be a quick turnaround. I know those are all things that people care about. I wanted to ask you about writing. Is that something that's been coming to you naturally, or do you find that art comes to you more naturally, or are you kind of just do you enjoy both as much, or different aspects of each appeal to you? How do you approach that?
So I think writing. I think I'm definitely more of a natural writer than artist. I feel like I've had to work a lot harder, but I think that's just because growing up I used to read a lot. I still read a lot now, but I used to read a lot of like books, like not just comic books, but like regular textbooks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. My mom was an English teacher growing up, so that kind of helped a lot. Even though I'm the only one out of my three brothers who read a lot, my other two brothers didn't read at all. But I think that was kind of like a thing that I naturally am able to do because I just have like a natural inclination, just like, and I'm one of those like they call them burst writers. Like once I get an idea, I'm just gonna go in there. I don't care if
Yeah.
I miss punctuation or spelling or whatever. I'll go back and
You just need to
fix all
get it
that
all
stuff.
out of your
Yeah.
brain, right? And then
And I
go
think
back and refine it afterwards.
yeah, for sure. And I think what helped a lot, especially now with writing, is that I do the YouTube channel because I write, scripts for all of my videos. So I think that like doing the scripting for the videos has helped me like get back into writing. I kind of understand like how I am able to write. And then when I write scripts, that is definitely the least like exciting part of like making comics. But like I have to write a script for my comics because I'm gonna forget like what I want to say, the dialogue, or like this important thing that I want to do, and it kind of helps me get like my ideas down initially for the comic and stuff like that. And then I kind of find like what writing styles I like. And that when it comes to writing comics, I kind of like I said earlier, like I like to world build passively. That's my favorite type of like storytelling, like especially like in movies or TV shows and in comics. I don't like when there's a writer who overwrites stuff or tries to like give you all this information at once. I feel like it's just too much. Like it's hard to digest and it makes it less fun because I feel like comics are about the artwork, and I feel like you can still tell a great
Yeah.
story without having to like overbear everything with all this random dialogue and details that you shouldn't have to tell me. Like I should just be able to see it or whatever. And I think that's like a big thing when I read like a lot of manga. They kind of do that very well. A lot of comic book creators who are writers and artists do that very well as well. It's usually like the people who are just like strictly writers who kind of like do
Yeah.
a little too much for my liking. There's some that are good at it. Like Robert Kirkman is really good at just like
He does a good job with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then Mark Millar is pretty good at it as well. There's a couple other
They
ones.
know when to bring it back to the action and
Hmm.
everything though. It's not like, 15 pages of talking heads. It's interspersed throughout.
Yeah, James Tinian, he's pretty good as well. I like what's that series? Something's Killing the Children. That's one of my favorite series
Yeah,
I've read. I kept up with.
awesome stuff.
Yeah, those guys. I've kind of like the way they kind of allow the artists to kind of do their own thing as well, and help build with the writing and stuff like that. So I kind of try to mirror myself in that way as well, my storytelling and stuff. Like I like I like drawing out action scenes, but that's just because those are the things that I like to draw. So when I do fight scenes, I want to do like a bunch of fighting. I want to try to figure out how to do cool angles and stuff like that. Yeah,
especially
like
coming from manga, you got to have a love for the action and the fight scenes.
Yeah, and I've been like with this comic, especially I like studied how mangas do their fight scenes and stuff like that. And I try to implement that into my comic, and keep it real loose and keep it long, not like a lot of pages, but like able to make it real fleshed out and stuff like that. And that's something I've been studying a lot for this comic and things like that.
You mentioned the MCU early on when we were discussing things and how you got into art and comics and all of that. Are the movies near and dear to your heart? Are you a big comic movie guy? You excited about Superman? Have you gone and seen it? Fantastic Four is coming up. I mean, we're eating good this summer.
Oh, yes. It's like I was telling my coworkers, I was like, it's like the 1960s. You know what I'm saying? Like Superman, Fantastic Four coming out, and yeah, I already got my tickets for Superman. I'm going tomorrow afternoon, so I'm hyped to see that. I'm definitely going to see Fantastic Four. But yeah, the MCU is like, I grew up with it, and it's kind of funny because I remember seeing Iron Man in theaters for the first time in like 5th grade, and in 2007. Yeah, I remember seeing it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, and I had just started getting the comics, so it was like perfect timing, and that's kind of for my imagination to like start going on YouTube and like looking up, okay, who's this character or who's this character, and I felt like cool because I was like, oh, I know what's gonna happen next, or I know who that character is already. Like when before Deadpool became the movie, I was like, Deadpool was one of my favorite characters. I was like, oh, this guy is cool. Like he talks to himself and he has all these crazy like things going on. He breaks the fourth wall. I thought that was really cool and stuff like that. And then like a lot of those things, I was a real big fan of that. And I feel like it's just kind of kept my my childhood fun. It was just cool. Like I remember when all the trailers were dropped. Like I remember when Civil War specifically, when that was going on, and like they dropped the trailer. Like, oh, here's Spider-Man. Like, oh my god, Spider-Man. And then the Black Panther. Oh my god, what? I always thought that was like the coolest thing. It's definitely kind of like simmered a little bit, but I haven't felt it. I've still kept up with it. I guess it's too near and dear to me at this point to like be like I'm like whatever. Even if I don't like it, I'm still gonna try it just the one time. There's a few movies I went to theaters and I was like, man, it could have been a little bit better, but whatever. Like, I guess you'll see the vision of what's going on. And I'm just glad that we're still getting comic book movies and superhero movies because even before, I just remember like a lot of the ones before, like in the early 2000s were bad. Like they weren't like these movies. They're bad because of whatever people's political reasons.
They're bad because our standard is like so high.
Super high. Yeah, I say the same thing.
Build up, the original build up to the first Avengers movie, and then the build up to Endgame and Infinity War and all of that. Like that's hard 100%. To top, man.
That's definitely a thing too, where it's like those movies and that whole lineup was super duper good, and now it's also like backed by hella nostalgia, but like people like my age who are like, man, I remember they were. Even though some of those movies you go back, some of them weren't as good as you remember. Because I rewatched a few of them and I was like, okay, that wasn't. I don't remember it being like that, but whatever. And then now there are movies that come out and they're like, oh, those are pretty solid, but it's like, no, it's not Endgame level. It's not Captain America Winter Soldier level. I don't want to watch. But
you know what they say? Comparison is the thief of joy.
100%. And I find things I enjoy in everything. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was like 18, 19, I was stocking shelves. And so that's when I started getting like podcasts and stuff like that. Like it's like right after graduating high school. It's like 2017. So I started listening to a lot of podcasts. And one of the podcasts I found was Kevin Smith's podcast, Batman on Batman. That was one of my favorites. I used to listen to that a lot. And one of the things I loved about him and his co-podcaster Mark Bernardin was that they never really shitted on anything. They're always like super positive about everything. Even if it wasn't like the greatest, like Kevin Smith was like, well, I can't say anything. I'm the guy who made this movie. Or like, saying like, I made shitty stuff too. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and I've always kept that near and dear to me as my mindset when it comes to like these things. Because, because we had Daredevil, now we have another Daredevil. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, why, like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you like it. But I think there's always something good to like in all these movies,
sure.
I think it's just cool.
And like you said, like, we got to be grateful of all the comic content we're getting. Like, I'm substantially older than you, and I would not have believed you if you came to me, if you time traveled back to when I was a little kid and like, we're gonna have an Avengers movie, we're gonna have Spider-Man movies, we're gonna have this, that, the other. It's like, what, really? Yeah, and people are gonna complain because there's too much content and there's too many movies and TV series about comic books. Yeah,
This
I
is like
think
the
we
goal.
gotta we gotta recalibrate and realize how good we have it sometimes when we start getting hypercritical.
Yeah, this is the golden age for like nerdom. Like nobody's
Yeah.
getting bullied for this stuff no more. Everybody's like in
No.
love with all this stuff. This is like literally general pop now. Like this isn't like a subculture anymore, especially like the movies and TV shows. Like everybody watches them. Like even anime, like the fact that anime's gotten to this level is like baffling to me because I remember when I was little, anime was weird. If you
Oh
liked
yeah.
anime, if you and even and not even that it was weird, it was super duper hard to come by. Like I
Yep.
know even before it was hard because you had to go to movies, like Blockbuster stuff, and they might have the one or two anime. But even when I was coming up, it was like you got to go on YouTube and they had one episode chopped up in like 20 parts. So like part 1 of 10, instead of like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto, and it might
Yep.
be English or it might be subbed, and the subtitles may or may not be correct. And so you just have to, like I had to, like I've
Yeah.
watched so many like anime back in the day on YouTube, even like cartoons that were on TV. Like I remember watching Batman the animated series on YouTube when it first came out because it wasn't on in syndication anymore. And like
Yep.
now you can get all that stuff whenever you want, and
Now
it's
you
super
can go
awesome.
on now you can go on Netflix and watch like a ton of anime and stuff.
Yeah, and they have
Like it's
their
crazy.
original creator, original anime and stuff, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So like, I think it's just like I'm appreciative of it. So I don't. I mean, if you guys are, if whoever is upset or hating on it, that's on you. Like I'm happy that I'm able to have all these options of things to see and whatever.
I
Yeah.
remember the first animes I saw was because a buddy of mine, a fellow comic artist buddy of mine, like lended me a bunch of VHS of like Fist of the North Star and all that, and Akira and everything, and like on VHS, like back in the day, it's like you said, it was obscure, and
hmm
you just wasn't, you had to go seeking it out for sure, and I feel like now it's cool to be a nerd. Like you even got poser nerds now, like people calling themselves nerds that didn't,
Yeah.
face
Yeah.
the tribulations that some of us did when your buddies found out you were into comic books or whatever.
Yeah. Even I remember I was big into Legos too in elementary school, and I remember being hella, like really embarrassed about like the
Yeah.
Legos and stuff. Like when I have friends come over, like, oh, like yeah, like these are just for fun, like or whatever. Like I used to be like, man, and now everybody does Legos. You know what I'm saying? They have so many different ones and stuff like that. And I
Yep.
think I just find it's interesting and fascinating how that's kind of like how all those
Yeah.
subcultures have kind of like evolved. Obviously, it's kind of like that's kind of how capitalism works, where like you see how much money is being made for it, so they're just gonna keep pushing
Right.
it, pushing it. But I mean, I don't mind. Like I think it's cool.
It's
I'm
definitely
enjoying
a,
it.
a golden age for us, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. I think so.
And I've had a blast with you on here today, dude. This has
Yeah,
been
yeah, man.
fun.
I really appreciate you having me on, man.
My pleasure. I'm excited for your Kickstarter. I want you to give everybody the lowdown here at the end and let them know all the best places to follow you on social media so they know where they can find the link for the Kickstarter and everything. And, man, the spotlight's yours. Let them all know where you want them to go.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate you for having me on.
My pleasure.
So yeah, you can just follow me on Instagram at the Rojo Cova. So that's like one of my main things. All the links, everything's on there. All my like you can see like all the comic pages or some comic preview pages on there. You can see all the covers that I did or had people do for me for the campaign, and also link for the campaigns in the description of my uh Instagram page, and also my YouTube channel, Kova's Lookout. That's where like I upload uh pretty often, probably like once twice a month, a deep dive on something on comic book related. I also have the links to my Kickstarter in there as well. And those are pretty much the two primary social media platforms that I use. So if you want to subscribe to my channel or my Instagram page, I also have a Patreon. You can find that on my YouTube channel as well. I'm kind of active on there. I'm still building it up. So on my Patreon, I pretty much do like I show like the comics I got for this week from my weekly pickups. I talk about like movies and stuff like that. I'm still building it up, but I got videos on there where I'm teaching, like I show people like my tips and tricks on how to build a YouTube channel. So
Oh,
I kind of
cool.
got 4 videos up there right now. If anybody's interested in like learning what I've learned so far and building a YouTube channel, you can go subscribe to my Patreon. I think it's like $5. That's it.
Oh,
And
man,
those are
that's
the main
great.
3 things I got going on right now. So yeah, just the Kickstarter's live. So if you guys can go back to Kickstarter campaign, I would highly appreciate it. Like we were talking about earlier, the book's completely done. All I do need is just your help to get the book printed and into your front door. That's it.
Perfect, man. Well, listen, hang out with me for a moment while I give everybody my spiel. Everybody, you already found us, so I don't need to tell you where to find the podcast. I just want to take this time to encourage you to go back the Kickstarter, check it out, go follow Cova on his Instagram, go check out and subscribe to his YouTube channel. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.